Hello and welcome to our next video, which is in the series of microfinance and assessment skills. And this is about statement of income and expense. So here we have an example of the format. So it's for a shop project, and in the left-hand column we have firstly income and for year one. So income is sales. So we're saying sales were 104,000 baht. Next line is the cost of goods sold, which is the things that we bought for the shop, and we're saying that's 52,000 baht. And the markup, that is how much more we charge when we sold things than we bought them for, that is 100%. So we took the 52,000 that we bought them for, and we sold them for 104,000, which is double what we bought them for, so 100% up. So then you look at the gross profit, which is the sales minus the cost of goods sold. So 104,000 minus 52,000 comes to 52,000. And then another category, the overheads. So we have the cost of the monthly trip to the supplier, 24,000 baht per year. Maintenance for the shop building, 5,000. Stock that is too old or damaged to sell, 5,000. So the total of those three is 34,000 total overheads. So then to get the net profit of 18,000, we do the gross profit, 52,000, minus the total overheads, 34,000. And the answer is 18,000. So that is the format of the statement of income and expenses. First the income, then the expenses, then the overheads, and finally you calculate the net profit. So the sales are based on sales of 2,000 baht per week, and the estimated cost of the monthly trip, including one night's accommodation, is 2,000 baht. So at this point the question is 18,000 baht profit per year a reasonable income for 1 year's work for one person? How would you assess this? Well, you could look at alternative employment. For example, agricultural labor like picking corn would earn, say, 100 baht per day. Based on doing that 5 days a week, income would be 26,000 baht. Since Nona Nanu is 56 and would struggle to work that much, 18,000 is probably reasonable. But 18,000 doesn't truly reflect her knowledge about how to run a shop and the use of part of her home. So at this stage, you think 18,000 baht is okay, but not a high level of profit. So now you go back and re-examine each of the figures to test if there are ways to improve them. And this means either increasing the expected sales per week on the income side or reducing the costs. So here's an activity for you. Calculate what would the net profit be if we assume sales of 2,500 baht per week instead of 2,000. You take a little time to do this. I'm going to go ahead with the answer, so you might want to pause the video now and go ahead when you're ready. Here we go with the answer. So now we have the same figures as before in the middle column. In the right-hand column, we have the sales at 2,500 per week. So the sales go up from 104,000, which was 52 weeks multiplied by 2,000, to 156,000, which is 52 weeks multiplied by 2,500. The cost of goods sold also goes up because we're now selling more. So that's still half, so 78,000, that's half of 156,000. Markup is the same, and the gross profit is 156,000 minus 78,000 equals 78,000. The other figures, the overhead figures, are all the same as before because they don't change just because you're making more sales. So the net profit this time is 78,000 minus 34,000, which is 54,000. So your net profit, because of that change in the sales, went up from 18,000 to 54,000. So the answer is 54,000. Note that because the amount of goods being sold has increased, the cost of goods has also increased. We've got to buy more if we're going to sell more. As you can see, this solves the problem nicely. Net profits go up from 18,000 to 54,000, which is a very healthy return. But this is where the honesty comes in. Do you really believe the shop can sell 2,500 baht per week instead of 2,000? Another area to examine is the markup. In the example we looked at before, we have assumed that the goods will be sold for double what she pays for them. So here's another exercise for you. Keep the cost of goods the same, but increase the markup by another 20% to 120%. What is the impact on net profit? Okay, again, you might want to pause the video, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer. So the middle column is the same again. On the right-hand column, we have a markup of 120%. So what we're saying is the cost of goods sold is the same at 52,000, but we have increased the price so that it's higher. It's now 120% of 52,000. So the sales have gone up to 114,400. To calculate that, you do 52,000 multiplied by 2.2. Okay, so the markup figure goes to 120. The gross profit, which is 114,400 minus 52,000, is now 62,400. The overheads don't change, so they are still 34,000. You take the 34,000 off the 62,400, and the net profit is now 28,400. So the answer is 28,400 baht. So the impact of this change is good. It increases profit by 10,400 baht, which is a reasonable but not exciting return for the work done and the use of the room in the house. Okay, the third area to look at is overheads. Is there any way that they can be reduced without causing problems? Realistically, it doesn't make sense to reduce the repairs budget or the assumptions about unsaleable stock. The only item that could be improved is the monthly trip to buy supplies. Could this be less often? Could it be cheaper? Could she stay with friends or relatives? You should be able to see how critical honesty is. You can manipulate the figures to show whatever level of profit you want if you're not honest about the assumptions you make about things, like the level of sales and the markup and the overhead costs. A lot of people manipulate the figures like this before they show their idea to the lender. They want the lender to think the idea will work well and make a lot of profit. Then they will agree to the loan. The people in banks or microfinance lenders who check out new loan requests are trained to look for this situation. It is very important for them. If someone has made the figures look good by putting in a high sales figure or a high markup, and they can't reach those figures, it might mean they don't have enough profit to repay the loan. And then both the lender and the borrower would have big problems. They will ask the person who wants the loan a lot of questions about the figures. They will ask them to explain why they think they can reach the level of sales that they have said they can. If the lenders think the borrower is being dishonest and trying to fool them, they won't lend any money. Rule number one for lenders is we don't lend to dishonest people, however good the figures look. It's also not in the true interest of the borrower to get a loan by manipulating the figures like this. What we are saying is that the borrower doesn't really think they can reach the higher numbers that are needed so they can repay the loan. If they succeed in fooling the lender, all that happens is that their business doesn't make as much profit as they told the lender, and they have a problem finding the money to repay the loan. Not a great result. So the main idea is that you must be honest, not just with the lenders, but with yourself. If you're not, you're going to have problems, and people won't believe any figures that you show them in the future. And this is the end, my friend. See you next time.